Welcome to today's deep dive. We are diving into a story that has been making headlines. Politics, fast food, you know the drill. We're talking about former President Trump's McDonald's visit. And with the election just 2 weeks away, well, let's just say the timing is interesting.
It certainly has people talking.
It really does. So ready to dig in.
Absolutely. This campaign stop, it might seem simple on the surface, but it's actually very telling, especially when you think about public perception. How voters see these candidates, especially this close to the election. It's fascinating.
It really is. For those who haven't seen the photos, what exactly happened at this McDonald's?
Okay, so picture this. Trump shows up at a McDonald's.
In Pennsylvania, right.
Feasterville, Trevose, Pennsylvania, to be exact. Huge crowds, chants of USA, the whole 9 yards. But it's what he did inside that really got people's attention.
He didn't just grab a bite. He went behind the counter. He even worked the fry station, served people in the
It
drive-thru.
was the whole thing.
Like, talk about a photo op. There's even an article, I think it quotes him joking about how making fries requires great expertise.
He knows how to make a statement, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just for show, this McDonald's visit, I mean. It actually ties back to his back and forth with Vice President Harris and her claims about working at McDonald's in college.
Oh, right, right. It's like that whole debate about who had the more authentic fast food job playing out in real time.
Exactly.
I even saw one article, I think it was Blaze Media, where Trump said something like he'd worked at McDonald's for 15 minutes more than Kamala. You can't make this stuff up.
He uses humor to challenge her narrative. And it's actually a classic example of how he connects with a certain segment of voters.
Definitely. But it also plays into this whole image of Trump as a man of the people, which has always been a big part of his appeal.
Even with his wealth, right?
Exactly. And you see in the articles, too, like how he was paying for people's meals, shaking hands, really interacting with everyone. One source even mentioned a customer getting emotional and thanking him. It definitely paints a certain picture.
Oh, absolutely. It taps into this idea of relatability, which you don't always see in politicians. And it's interesting, this choice of McDonald's, it's not by accident.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it, McDonald's, it's so ingrained in American culture. For a lot of people, it brings up a sense of nostalgia, comfort, simpler times. And seeing a presidential candidate there, just like a regular person.
It makes them seem more relatable, you're saying.
Exactly. It could resonate with people on a subconscious level. It's powerful stuff, that subconscious connection. And it makes you think, like, this McDonald's visit, it's not just happening out of nowhere,
Yeah.
right? We're 2 weeks out from the election.
Exactly. 2 weeks. So what do you think Trump's team is hoping to achieve with this, strategically?
Well, these final weeks before an election, they're all about energizing your base, right? And this event, it plays right into that.
Right, right. Those voters who are drawn to that tell it like it is style.
Exactly.
The ones who like that he's, challenging the establishment, even if it's over something as simple as French fries.
It reinforces that image of him as a political outsider. Someone who's not afraid to poke fun at anything, even if it's, like you said, the establishment of McDonald's and their fry making.
And there's also that element of, like, going on the offensive, too. By directly engaging with Vice President Harris's claims about working at McDonald's, he's sort of like controlling that narrative.
Absolutely. He's reframing the conversation, putting his own spin on it.
And whether you agree with it or not, you have to admit, it's effective.
Oh, it gets people talking, that's for sure.
Speaking of getting people talking, one thing I noticed going through these articles was just how much coverage this event got.
Oh.
It was everywhere.
Well, that's the media landscape we live in now. It's all about grabbing attention, and Trump understands that.
Love him or hate him, he knows how to create a headline.
Exactly. He cuts through the noise.
It's like that saying, all press is good press, But it does make you wonder, with all this talk about strategy and image and everything, is there any room left for a genuine moment in politics these days?
That's a good question.
Or is every handshake, every photo op, planned out for maximum impact?
That's the question, isn't it? It makes you think. But I think even with all that, there's still room for genuine moments. If it feels authentic, people can tell.
So it's not about, like, avoiding every photo op or every campaign stop. It's more about making sure those actions actually reflect who you are.
Yes, exactly. Voters, they can spot a fake from a mile away. And, it actually makes me think about this McDonald's event even more because whether you see it as brilliant or just a publicity stunt, you have to admit it's very him?
Totally. Like, could you imagine any other politician pulling that off?
Exactly. It wouldn't have the same effect, right? But for him, it just works. It's on brand. And for a certain group of voters, that's what they like about him.
And it's not just about him, right? Like you were saying before, McDonald's itself means something. There's that nostalgia factor, the feeling of simpler times. But it's also, like, universal, isn't it?
Exactly.
Everyone's been to a McDonald's. Everyone kind of gets it.
You said it. It's a shared experience. Rich or poor, Democrat or Republican, everyone's grabbing a burger and fries. And in that moment, by choosing that location and doing what he did, he kind of tapped into that. There's a sense of common ground there.
And that's really interesting, especially now when it feels like everything is so divided.
It is, and we forget that sometimes. We get so caught up in the differences, we forget how much we actually have in common.
Well, this McDonald's visit, it definitely got people thinking, that's for sure. We've been talking about strategy and image and nostalgia, and it all kind of comes together in this one event.
It really does.
Any final thoughts for our listeners before we let them go mull it all over?
As we head into these last couple weeks before the election, pay attention to the little things, the things that might seem insignificant, because sometimes those are the things that tell you the most about who these candidates really are.
That's great advice. It's a good reminder that politics, it's not just speeches and debates. It's also about those everyday moments. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone, and until next time, keep exploring.